Certainly that gospel this evening is not one of those of consolation. We usually look upon Jesus as being such a mild-mannered individual, and yet he says, I come not to establish peace, but to bring a fire upon the world. And I wish that it was blazing. That fire is not one of destruction, but of purification. It's one of transformation. It's the fire, though, that will be fought against and rejected by many. And that's the reason why he said, his message is one of peace. It is one of redemption. It's reunion with God. That's what his message is really about. But he knows that in the struggle with evil, there will be those who choose evil rather than truth, who will choose the wrong rather than the right. And there will be divisions that will come about. And it's not God's will that we have these divisions, but rather it's just the reality of the fact that sin is still present, that there's still those challenges, and that he's warning his disciples that your message won't always be accepted, that not everyone will be anxious to think about transformation, about putting aside evil in order to be embraced by the truth of good. And so that's the message there. It's not an easy one, but it's one that does challenge us. And the fact of the matter is, if we are totally at peace in our world, we're probably not at peace with Jesus. If we're totally at peace with our world, we're probably not at peace with Jesus. Because in some ways, we have to be countercultural. We have to be against so many things that are accepted within our world and our society. And we need to stand as a witness to truth and to love, to mercy, to compassion. And sometimes those are not popular positions. But that's the challenge. As I was reading that second reading today, I happened to think about something from my own life where St. Paul there is describing, in a sense, the challenge of being a disciple of Jesus. And what it reminded me of was a golf lesson I had one time. Now, anybody knows me knows that I do not play golf. It's against my religion. Religion and golf to me do not mesh up at all. They're just two contradictory things. But anyway, years ago I did try, and so one person gave me a lesson one time. And he just outlined it in terms of some steps that I should take. And he said, first of all, you got to survey the landscape there. You have to survey the fairway, the golf course, and see where the obstacles are, and see where the pin is, and where the green is, and where the sand traps are, and everything, and where the rough is. And you have to be able to size up the situation. And then you need to be able to take the right stance, to be able to take the stance in relationship with the ball that's going to help you to avoid the obstacles and the challenges and the pitfalls that are out there on the fairway. And then he said, once you get the right stance, then you stand there and you have to keep your eye on the ball. No matter what, you have to keep your eye on the ball. Because if your eye's not on the ball, then when you end up swinging, you're going to top it, you're going to just dribble it down a few feet, or it's going to go off to the side because you didn't keep your eye on the ball. And then thirdly, when you go back to swing, and when you swing, don't just chop at the ball, but follow through. You got to follow through if you're going to be effective. And then thirdly, he said, never get discouraged, persevere. That's pretty much outlines what St. Paul says in the first reading today, or in the second reading, where he's talking there about the fact that we have to be able to be aware of the world in which we live and know where the obstacles are and where the challenges are. And we need to know what stance we're going to take in light of our world and where we're at. And then we have to really keep our eye on Jesus. Jesus is the one that we need to focus on. His truth and His love. To always keep our eye on Jesus. and not allow ourselves to be distracted by so many other things that may be appealing to the eye, but really are not life-giving. And then when we do swing, when we try to make the effort to make sure that we follow through with our actions, that we don't give up easily, but that we continue to make that effort, that we persevere. Yes, there's times in which things go well. There's times in which they're difficult. There's times in which they're frustrating. But to persevere is so very important. To survey the life, to take the proper stance, to keep the eye on the ball, to follow through, never become discouraged. That's the way of our spiritual life.